The Fourth and Goal Podcast.
That's all it is. But there's a lot of airspace to cover for Milroe. Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught! Touchdown, Alabama!
Strebler dials it up. End zone! Touchdown! They're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles! Touchdown!
There ain't no podcast like the Fourth and Goal Podcast. Like, hit that subscribe button and share.
And welcome to the Fourth and Goal Podcast here on a beautiful Monday where the Cowboys are trying to lead a comeback versus the Texans. Cooper Rush in the QB position for the Cowboys, and he just missed that throw terribly.
Talk about kind of a stinker of a football game.
Yeah, because the Texans, I mean, I know they play the Lions close, but I mean, dude, they had to get 5 picks in order to even be in that game, and they still lost. But we'll provide you updates and our analysis if this game ends by the time we're done with the episode. But I wanted to open off the show with Phil Longo, gone as the OC at Wisconsin. Justin, what do you think of this move?
Yeah, I mean, just the second year, he didn't get that long of a leash, but their offense does rank 97th nationally in scoring and 102nd in passing yards. And an offense that's supposed to be an air raid offense, they haven't got that aspect going yet in Wisconsin. And usually these kind of things take longer than a couple of years. Maybe a little premeditated. Maybe they needed a scapegoat because maybe Fickell's not performing that well. And they gave Oregon about all they can handle, but their offense, man, whew.
Yeah, Braden Locke missed some really easy throws. That was just Walker all game, pretty much being the only sort of pulse on offense for Wisconsin, because I don't remember them making a throw deep. I remember there was like an out route for 12 yards. I think that was the deepest completion in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just not good. I mean, last year with Mordecai, they were able to get things going at the tail end of the year, but other than that, dude, I mean, Longo, I think he's a great offensive coordinator, but just in terms of personnel fit, it's not going to work at Wisconsin. You need to go to like, you know, a Rhett Lashley, SMU, or maybe even USC if Lincoln Riley doesn't want to have a voice in the offense. Or if Chip Kelly's not at Ohio State, maybe revamp the offense there and get a quarterback to transfer in. I mean, they haven't had Van Dyke all year, and I think Van Dyke would be an upgrade over Locke, but I don't think it's a significant margin where it's like, hey, they're like a 7-3, 8-2 team right now. They're like, oh, well, we don't have to worry about sweating out a bowl game. So, which if you're Wisconsin, you have, I think the goal at least every year at the minimum is you should be making a bowl game. But new look, Big Ten, and obviously they've underperformed for the second straight year now. So,
yeah. And I wonder where Fickell's going to go at the end of the season. Because, I mean, you look at Longo and he's kind of the right guy in the wrong situation. You know, it's personnel-wise.
Dude, Drake Mace taped was amazing at North Carolina under Longo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you wanted. And maybe I think Mordecai was overrated when he was at SMU. He had a couple huge games, but I mean, he was in a kind of a non-strong American conference. So, and I mean, they looked good with Preston Stone last year winning the American, and they look really good with Kevin Jennings this year. So they kind of started slow against Boston College.
We're kind of at that part in the season where we're going to see coaches get let go.
Yeah, I mean, I know Charlotte fired their head coach.
Florida State fired the whole staff.
Yeah, Ball State let go their head coach. East Carolina's already made coaching change. Rice. I'm trying to think, is there anywhere else? There definitely is. It's just not coming to the top of the mind. But especially when the season ends, we're going to see a lot of coaches let go or going to new places. But I wonder, this is a good question, Justin. What coaching job will become available that you're certain on? What is the best coaching job, I should say, that you think is going to become open, whether the coach leaves, retires, or gets fired?
Man, that's a tough question.
I know, right? But it's going to happen somewhere. We haven't had an off season in a while where a Power 4 SEC, Big Ten, and attractive ACC school hasn't became open.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere along the line, something's going to open up. And I mean, you got guys that are going to leave and take bigger jobs,
Right.
which will open up nice opportunities. You know,
They're not
that's a
they're not
that's a
they're not gonna give up on Hugh Freeze. Is it LSU?
yeah, I mean, it could be LSU because my dad lives down there in Florida, and he's it's kind of a melting pot in that area, and there's plenty of people from Louisiana down there, and they are not happy with Brian Kelly right now.
Yeah, 'cause it's not gonna be Penn State. Um, Texas ain't gonna open. Arizona just first year head coach. Yeah, it's gonna be really tough to call which one of these jobs will become open now that we look at it. It's kind of like the first year in a while where it's been like, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
what's like we were pretty certain like there's a lot of big jobs open last year, unless Florida State fires Mike Norvell, but I don't think they're gonna do that this year, or at least
no.
not. But who knows? Who knows? Oh,
I think firing the staff in Tallahassee was kind of a little grace for Norvell. Like, all right, we'll give you one more year.
yeah. And I think the recruiters or the people in the offensive defensive coordinators and position coaches, like I mean, they lost Jeremiah Smith and he was pretty locked in going there. You lose Travis Hunter, like you lose all these big recruits. And that's a testament to Norvell and the head of the operation. But I think it's also just like, okay, we need some guys that, can coach football, set some stuff in scheme. But I mean, if you're Florida State, you should be attracting the big players, and they're just not getting them.
Yeah, and I mean the fall the epic fall kind of that we've seen from them and even Michigan this year is uh, just speaks to the landscape of college football right now. 1 year in the playoffs, next year win
You're
one game.
done.
You win one
Yeah.
game.
Right. Well, should have been in the playoff. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think people don't give Jordan Travis enough credit. And I mean, he had a pretty loaded receiving room with Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson,
yeah,
Jaheim Bell was a nice tight end. Trey Benson was one of the most underrated running backs last year. I mean, that was a really good team last year. And defensively, you had Brayton Fisk and Jared Verse and other guys to go along on the defense as well.
yeah. And a lot of people point to how they got beat by Georgia in that bowl game. They also didn't play
They were on
pretty
third
much
strings and
anybody.
walk-ons in that game. It was not that Florida State team. And Georgia was playing starters, Carson Beck, Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey. Like there was legit dudes on Georgia playing in that game. I couldn't even tell you the best player that played in Florida State in that game.
Probably the guys that are playing this year from the looks
Right.
of it.
And we see what's happening on the field.
Right.
Let's get into that Wisconsin game on NBC late at night. Oregon scrapes out and kind of lackluster win. I think it was a C- game for Oregon. They just got in the red zone. They couldn't score. And Wisconsin just kind of gave them a punch that, they weren't expecting. But it was their 8th game in a row. They're looking to get to the bye week and the season strong. Who do they play at the end of the year?
Oregon State, right?
No, they already played Oregon State this
Oh,
year.
did they play them in the beginning?
Yeah. They played them in non-con early in the season. They played Washington. Handle business against Washington, which is something they weren't able to do last year, but that was also a completely different Washington team. In fact, 20 of 22 starters. But you got to end the season strong, go to the Big Ten championship. And, dude, I mean, Wisconsin didn't give any fight on offense, and this is the first game that Oregon's looked vulnerable since Ohio State. They went on a nice run against Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, and Maryland. And they should end the season strong. And I mean, I think Oregon's my personal favorite right now to win the national championship. Power ratings and betting odds probably wouldn't agree, but I think they are currently the best team in college football, even after that game, because it shows that they can just get a gutsy win when things aren't going right for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think it kind of shows versatility in the way that they can win. Jordan James had a nice game, made some plays for him when needed, kind of like the unsung hero of the game a little bit. And when the chips are down and when the passing offense and those receivers and Dylan Gabriel are struggling, they have a great defense. Their Locke was running for his life. Oregon, we know their defensive front, pretty ferocious. Probably got a few NFL guys up there when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think Mateo, Harmon are two like legit day 1, day 2 prospects because they're absolute records. on the defensive side. I think Kobe Savage is a good corner as well.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, all the way around. And, Lanning's a defensive guy, so he's going to put a nice defense out there. So,
Yep.
yeah, Oregon's tough, man, and they show that they can do it in many different ways.
I think this kills, in terms of Heisman, kills Dylan Gabriel's chances unless he has like a big Big Ten championship performance where it's like, okay, we have to completely reconsider this. But I don't think a quarterback's winning it this year, man.
No.
I think if there was going to be, it would be Indiana winning the Big Ten championship and Curtis Wark getting it. But I think honestly, the athletes on Indiana are just severely underrated. So I mean, Wark obviously delivers the ball, but I don't think he's extending plays. Like Sellers doesn't have the stats. I think Jennings just gets underlooked by national media in general. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I don't think Shador could, I guess, but I mean, it's going to go to Travis Hunter. But
yeah, I think it's a 2-man race between Hunter and probably Genty, honestly, in my opinion, is what it should be.
Yeah, and it's going to be. But I'm interested to see who will get that 3rd and 4th invite into New York.
Yeah, could change between now and then.
How about those Mormons against those Jayhawks? Kansas still alive for bowl eligibility, baby. They improved their record to 4-6 with a 17-13 win over BYU. BYU just kind of looked out of sync. And Kansas, I didn't even think Kansas really played that well outside of like Devin Neal. And the defense didn't play well. They were just kind of in position when BYU made mistakes.
Yeah, no, that's my assessment of the game. BYU not being able to finish drives, being able to move the ball and not finish it in the end. I mean, field goals only take you so far this late in the season. I think BYU still has an opportunity to get into the playoff. I mean, it's one loss. They can go out and win out and play in the Big 12 championship and win that, and that would probably be their ticket in. But I thought they looked very flat at home, which is usually a pretty strong place to go on the road and play. I thought their crowd would have been behind them, especially against a Kansas team that's kind of been falling apart this season.
I mean, they've had a late surge comeback into the season, beat Iowa State. You play Kansas State really close. And then they've played close games. Look, I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now. 1 possession loss to Illinois, 1 to UNLV, West Virginia, 2 possession loss to TCU, 1 versus Arizona State, and 1 versus Kansas State. It's not like they've been a terrible team this season. They just kind of gotten the short end of the stick on a lot of those games. They kind of remind me of the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas, they got solid players, man. Kobe Bryant's going to be an NFL corner. Jalen Daniels, he turns the ball over too much, but I still think he's good. And I like Devin Neal and then Quentin Skinner in the receiving room as well. So they're a solid team, man. Lance Leipold knows what he's doing at Kansas. And I mean, he's the Kansas guy. He's probably going to have the stadium named after him just because, I mean, before him, I mean, Kansas football was just like, hey, we're gonna pack out Allen Fieldhouse, but no one's coming to our football games.
I think it was it Les Miles before Leipold got there? Or was there
that's before my time. That's a little bit
yeah.
I wasn't really paying attention. I knew Mark D'Antonio. That was about it.
Yeah.
Obviously I knew Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney, but my college football knowledge at a younger age was not particularly amazing.
Yeah, some of those blue blood basketball schools have had a tough time gaining traction in the football world.
I mean, Duke's been pretty solid. North Carolina gets big recruits. They just don't really perform well. I mean, Alabama's a basketball school now.
Yeah.
UConn's not bad this year, but I mean,
yeah,
it's UConn. They're not anything good. UCLA hasn't been good for a hot minute.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Trying to think of other basketball. That's pretty much like in terms of blue blood. Michigan State has their years. Kentucky, I don't know. Kentucky's such a weird team to me. But
yeah, it's tough for newcomers in the SEC.
Yeah. How about Georgia? kind of came out in that second half. And look, Carson Beck looked really good. And I think just the involvement of the tight ends in the scheme this week, being able to dial up some plays for them to get open and let Beck. I mean, a tight end is the best friend's quarterback, or I should say a quarterback's best friend. We've seen it across the entire college football landscape this year. Tight ends like Jake Ferguson on Oregon, you got Tyler Warren on Penn State, Gunnar Helms, a pretty good tight end for Texas, and Quinn Ewers. The tight end position, and there's more. I'm obviously just being selective, which first comes to mind. But what I'm saying is that if you can get tight ends, I mean, Simon on South Carolina was a huge factor in their game versus Missouri, and we'll get into that later. But these tight ends got to be able to play for these quarterbacks because the quarterbacks are just not elite.
Georgia also just nabbed a guy in our backyard here in Michigan from Saline High School at tight end.
Yeah, Lincoln Keys.
Yep.
Keys could probably translate to a bigger body receiver, but
yeah,
he's just an overall all-around athlete. But no, I was really impressed with Carson Beck. And this is what I expected him going into the season, right? I mean, he's a really good thrower. I liked his instincts and mechanics as a passer. I just don't know if it's all there for him mentally. He seems to be kind of easily rattled. But, man, he got it done this game. And this is good for Georgia because if they lose this game, I'm sorry to break it to Georgia fans, you guys weren't getting in the playoff, right?
Yeah,
but
pretty much situation for either team.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee can get there, but dude, that loss to Arkansas is just not particularly amazing. But I don't think Tennessee deserves to get there. They seriously have not looked good since Kent State. I will be completely honest. They looked cool against Mississippi State, and I know they beat Bama, but they didn't really look good in that game. I think Bama just kind of played worse with a hurt Jalen Milroe. This Tennessee team relies on their defensive line getting pressure. Georgia's offensive line, they made the switches on offensive line, switched up their pass protection and their slides and everything, and they let Beck get time to throw. Dude, he was untouched the whole entire game. I think he only got hit when he decided to run the ball, which I forget how good of a scrambler he is. But all right, I'm rambling on. Justin, what do you got in this game?
Georgia, I mean, like you said, Beck, 40 pass attempts. Georgia still isn't getting a consistent enough run game for them to be a threat in the playoffs, in my opinion. You can't drop Carson Beck back there that many times and expect bad things not to happen. Tennessee side of it, Nico just kind of hasn't really been that good this year. I understand he got sacked 5 times and he was kind of a little running for his life this game. But Dylan Sampson's been a steady for Tennessee. Like you said, this game had big playoff implications for me. I felt like the team that won this game would position themselves to make it. I think Georgia is. They have UMass and Georgia Tech to finish the season.
So their SEC play is done, which the SEC Conference Championship, we're just going to have to wait and I know there's some sort of simulator that is on Reddit that you can run, but I'm just going to wait and see and let it all play out. But yeah. I think Texas is obviously going to get there as long as they don't lose another game. But that second team who they're going to play, shoot, dude, I have no idea.
Yeah, could be anybody at this point, the way that conference has been. But no,
I think Tennessee has a shot to lose to Vandy too. Vandy rivalry game at Vanderbilt. I mean, Diego Pavia, he rises for that big game, so it will be interesting to see.
Big win for Georgia though at home. 2-touchdown convincing win for them against a formidable opponent. Looks good. Makes their resume look pretty good going into the playoff time. They've played a pretty decent schedule this year. Georgia, opposed to some teams.
I think it's one of the harder schedules that someone's played. Might be the hardest. I mean, Clemson, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Those are all pretty legit opponents. And I mean, Florida looks better every week. Which shout out to them. We'll get to them in a minute too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Georgia, look, their ceiling is high. It's just they don't reach that ceiling all the time. But no one really reaches their ceiling all the time in college football as the years go on. But Georgia's one of those teams that dude, they want to go on a run, they can do it, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nick Saban made it look easy for so long, and we kind of thought Kirby would be that guy, but maybe Georgia still is that team. I think it's wide open, and like I said, man, they got some. I mean, you can't chalk up the Georgia Tech as a win just because of the rivalry, and you never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
And Georgia
I like
Tech,
them.
I mean, they caught Miami, right? And wow, Miami's defense and pass rush and pass coverage is a lot worse than Georgia's.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia Tech is. I don't even want to get into that team, man. They piss me. They have some players I like on that team, like Malik Rutherford, and their running back Haynes is pretty good as well. Haynes King's a solid quarterback, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really love getting into that team, man.
Yeah.
A team that I do want to talk about, dude. One of my favorite head coaches in college football, Kenny Dillingham, and Arizona State get a 24-14 victory over Kansas State. Kansas State has been one of the most inconsistent teams, and it's kind of because of the play of Avery Johnson. He did not look very good in this game. They weren't really anything to get dialed. They didn't dial up anything in the past game. DJ Giddens had some good runs, but dude, Sam Levitt, Scadaboo, Jordan Tyson, this whole Arizona State team, man, I just love watching them play. And they might come out of the Big 12 as a late riser, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Do they have one or two Big 12 losses? Let's take a look really quickly.
They're 5-2 in the conference right now.
Okay, so
There's a path for them to get in.
So they would just have to have BYU probably lose another game.
Yeah.
And then they're in, and then they probably play Colorado or
Yep.
Colorado lose, which BYU, they play BYU this week. So they would have the head-to-head, and then you just got to take care of business. I didn't really look ahead at the schedules other than I know Indiana plays Ohio State, which that'll be a fun one to break down with the mighty Hoosiers fan that we have on this podcast, who's not here today.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, man, Kansas State. I'll let you talk about this one for a hot minute while I collect my thoughts.
Well, this one was actually my one of my two, I think, successful upset of the week picks. I took Arizona State over Kansas State going into this game. Looking at Kansas State, kind of the only constant that they've had is DJ Giddens. Avery Johnson, while he's okay, he's been up and down this year big time. He was down in this one. Sam Levitt on the other side played a really good game. Jordan Tyson was unstoppable. I mean, Arizona State jumped out to a 21-0 lead, jumped down their throat quick, and kind of coasted to a win for the rest of the game. And
yeah, I mean, they got up early in that one. It was 21-0 at halftime.
And Kansas State at home too. I mean, just laying an egg, you know what I mean? And no points in the first half, and kind of stagnant in the second half. Just a little disappointing, in my opinion, if I'm a Kansas State fan at the moment.
Yeah, who do they got to finish out the season? Cincinnati and Iowa State. I mean, those are two. Cincinnati, I think, is a little bit better than their record. They've had a lot of injuries on the defensive side this year and have just kind of been inconsistent. And then Iowa State, I mean, look, that's still a solid football team, man. Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell do a solid job. I mean, look, Iowa State's typically not good every year. As of recent, with like the Brock Purdy years, they were pretty solid. They're kind of down last year, but they kind of had a resurgence late in the season. And that was actually a really good game between them and Kansas State last year in the snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kansas State, they piss me off. They honestly do.
Yeah, and Iowa State, you mentioned, you know, they even have one of the best corner combos in the country too, which is, you know, we don't talk about defense enough on this show, but maybe we will, you know.
We'll get a lot more analytical as, you know, the playoff matchups and the conference championships. We get more into that. And there's less games to talk about, so we have more shit to ramble upon. But
right, there's a lot to talk about these days.
Yeah, speaking of which, you mentioned it earlier, South Carolina gets it done at home. A little bit of a late resurgence from Missouri. They were able to score 3 times in a row, but man, they weren't able to pull it out in the end. Dude, I was impressed with Missouri in this game. I know they lost, and honestly, I blame their secondary. Like Norwood, he got picked on the whole entire game. He had 1 interception off of miscue from Lenora Sellers in his receiver. And how about Nicholas Harbor coming alive in this game, man? He was able to get a touchdown catch. He had some other explosive plays. And Lenora Sellers was just damn good. Like, this is the best game he's probably played all season. And I think he might be one of the future quarterbacks of college football and then go beyond because, look, his mechanics aren't perfect, but he's a freshman redshirt. And his escapability, like, it kind of reminds me of he reminds me of Caleb Williams almost.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's this game, like you said, Missouri, I thought did some good things. You've seen Weiss and Burden, make some plays finally. I think Missouri finally figured out that they can use their 2-star receivers, and it almost benefited them. Nate Noel obviously had a big game. Sellers, yeah, he's been building up to this moment. He's been showing flashes all season. We've been talking about him a lot. As he goes, I think South Carolina and Beamer go. And they're a team that's ascending. I'd be careful. I'd look out for South Carolina finishing the rest of this season and moving into next season. I think they're positioning themselves pretty well.
Yeah, they play Wofford next week, which woohoo! But
yeah.
Then they play Clemson at Death Valley. That'll be a really interesting game. That game's always been really good when both these teams are somewhat competitive. Like, you remember,
I feel like South Carolina's might be a little bit too much for Clemson, especially on the defensive. Defensive front.
Dude, Clemson. I don't think we're gonna talk about it, but Clemson looked like crap against Pitt. It took a Cade Klubnik big touchdown at the end, and I thought they were gonna handle business a lot better, but a banged up O-line, just. It's hard to play with. It's hard to play when you're in your 10th game of the season and your offensive line's banged up and you got to roll out new guys out there. And but
it's not fun doing the shuffle.
No. Yeah. Honestly, Brady Cook didn't look bad in this game either. I know he threw a pick, but that was at the end of the game. He actually delivered some balls where I was like, okay, maybe we gave this guy a little bit too much hate, but
yeah. I'm sure he's took the hate from his fan base enough. You know what I mean? So, there's a quarterback in there for sure, but I just feel like they've wasted 2 of the best receivers in the country this year.
Yeah. Do we think Lenoris is going to stay at South Carolina, or you think someone's going to try and poach him because he's still young and there's a good possibility that some schools will want his talent, like Bama maybe?
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of him staying or not, but people are definitely going to be coming for him in the offseason.
Shit. I'm trying to think of big-time players who are going to be needed a quarterback. I don't know if Oregon is going to stay with Dante or they might look for a portal quarterback.
What about Georgia?
I think Rashada is going to be the truth for them next year, man. Being completely honest.
You think he's going to be the deal?
He had some bad games at Arizona State, but when he played last year, and then when they had, I think, what was his face, Tyson Borgent, dude, it was 2 completely different stories. But Rashada, I think he's too much. Well, I guess Carson Beck's a turnover problem too. So it might not be a problem. Auburn might try and go after him. And they got money down there, even though it doesn't show for it in their football records as of recent. Yeah. They got some play. Texas A&M, dude, might want to go look for it.
But at the same time, though, South Carolina could win out, and they could be that next wave that's going to be bringing players in from the portal.
Yeah,
you know
what I mean? Look, they got some pretty good receivers there. Mazeo Bennett's only a freshman too, and he's been kind of a standout. Nick Harbor. Joshua Simon, he's a senior, so he will be gone. But South Carolina, they like their big athletic guys on the outside, dude, and they're one of the most fun football teams to watch.
Yeah, you got guys that are 6'6" that are running 4.2s, fastest guys in the country, and you got freshman defensive ends that are.
Yeah, dude, their pass rush is just legit, bro. They might be the best pass rush in the country.
What's that kid? Dylan Stewart, freshman?
Yeah, Dylan Stewart.
He's going to be the real deal.
Demetrius Knight's pretty good. They're able to send a lot of their blitzes that they send to are
Yeah.
are really well dialed up and confuse offensive lines and quarterbacks all the time.
They're just a fun team to watch any way you shake it. You know what I mean? They've been right up there with
Pause.
everybody. What's that?
You said the way you shake it. I said pause because they're
Any
the
way you
Dogs.
shake it.
But
Yeah. Right.
Move on to the next SEC game that's on the card. Florida, dude. Napier, man. How about it? Lagway looks pretty well. LSU, not so much. And kind of gets me wondering, is Underwood going to go somewhere else? Because I look at this team and look, they got good receivers, but they're going to lose their offensive line talent. I know Nussmeier hasn't played great as of late, but dude, he's relied upon so much. And I still think he has the intangibles, the mechanics, the film to go pro after this year. And I think he will, and I think he should. Like, I think he's going to be – I don't think he's going to have the career trajectory of Will Levis in the NFL, but he's going to be like, oh, yeah, this guy's still a really good player. And
Yeah.
I mean, I like him a lot. As a quarterback, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the country. But, yeah, dude, this is just bad.
I mean, if you're Nussmeier, I mean, what do you really – I mean, do you really benefit that much from leaving early? I mean, where's he going to be drafted? I feel like he could anymore. You could almost come back to college and make the kind of money that you're going to make. You know what I mean? And develop a little bit, because those 11 interceptions that are on his record are a little concerning, if you ask me.
Yeah, but if you really like break it down, it's a lot of it him trying to play comeback in a spot, and not like I get it. He hasn't played the greatest statistically, but I don't know really. I mean, you're asking him to throw the ball 50 times a game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Other than Shador Sanders, no one's going to play that good in the country having to throw the ball that much.
And then with Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, this is his first really extended playing time this year. I mean, you're drafting a guy not necessarily based on results, but more on projection with Nussmeier.
Yeah, but I think if you watch him, the only downside to him is his escapability, but he's shown that he can get out of the pocket and extend plays. But dude, I mean, I honestly don't know how much is the quarterback and how much just LSU is an absolute shit show.
Yeah, I mean, when you
As of
got
late.
your coach publicly fighting with players on the sideline, and I mean, as we know in sporting events, there's cameras everywhere. That's a bad look for Brian Kelly and LSU.
Yeah. On the Florida side, I mean, dude, big bad Billy Napier. I mean, look, they got a lot of pressure on LSU, 7 sacks, 11 TFLs. Like,
Shamar James was all over the place.
Yeah. Offensively, Elijah Badger played pretty well along with DJ Lagway. And I think this Florida team, man, give Billy Napier a little bit more leeway. They could be good next year.
Yeah, and I think they've already come out and say that they're not getting rid of Billy Napier.
They're not going to do it this year. But I mean, look, they'll win against Florida State. I'll make a bowl game, and as they got to have the roster retention, because if they had guys like Princely Emmanuel and like guys that would have been impacts on this team but decided to go other places in the portal, I think this Florida team would have been like, one of those playoff teams. They also had one of the most insane schedules ever. I mean, LSU, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Miami, Texas A&M. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But we'll see how they do. I'm intrigued if Lagway, how he plays against Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is one of those physical upfront teams that can also, when they want to and when they feel like it, get it going on offense and apply pressure that way as well. So,
yeah, no, Napier seems to have the vote of confidence from the team. He gets a lot of respect. Obviously, their kids are still playing their guts out for him. Yeah, I definitely think he should get another chance. I mean, you can't. Florida's just been doing this constant cycle. I mean, Dan Mullen caught on for a little bit, but I mean, it's been one guy after another, revolving door since Urban Meyer left Tallahassee or Gainesville. I'm sorry, can't get those two mixed up.
Yeah, you'll have people from the South coming for your head.
Right. Yeah.
And then last one on the card, Colorado, baby. Utah made some good plays at times. They opened the game with the interception. That Isaac Wilson to Dorian Singer play was really nice. But, dude, Colorado's like, I know we talk about Shador and Travis, but guys like Will Shepherd, who were able to get 2 big body catches in the end zone. Their defense has been playing physical, and the secondary has been playing better as the season's gone on. Like, I really like this Colorado team, and I'm going to say it here right now. I think Colorado is going to make the playoff and win the Big 12.
No, I think it's inevitable. I mean, the way that they're playing, they completely shut Utah's run game down. So Colorado, again, is showing that they're physical on the defensive side of the ball. Had another freshman step up and have a big game at wide receiver. What's that, Draylon Miller?
Yeah, he stepped up and had a big game. LeJontay Webster had a huge kick return for a touchdown too. Like, Colorado just makes plays.
Yeah.
And that's with Shador and the other athletes around him. Look, they got Kansas and Oklahoma State. Kansas has been, tricky as of late, but I think he can handle business. And I think Oklahoma State just doesn't give a shit about football right now. So you should be able to win that game. And then you play either BYU, Arizona State, or Iowa State in the conference championship. And BYU's got to rely on a lot of turnovers. I mean, Shador throws a pick or two here and there, but I think for the most part, they'll be able to take care of business if they play BYU. Arizona State will be a little bit more tricky just because they are a versatile offense, and I think Scadaboo is going to always get his touches, and they can have a guy like Jordan Tyson step up at receiver. But I think they'd be able to handle Iowa State. That's my
opinion. On a from the Colorado aspect, though, like their wide receiver room, you're looking at LeJontay Webster, Will Shepherd, Travis Hunter, and now this Draylon Miller guy. Like, could Colorado
and Jimmy Horn too?
Jimmy Horn, who didn't even mention. Like, so could Colorado have one of the more dangerous receiving rooms in the country?
Right. And people are going to be like, oh, but it's the Big 12 and nobody plays anybody in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Big 12's got some good teams, man.
Yeah. And has some really good corners too.
Yeah. So, you know what? Screw all the haters out there, bro. I mean, I don't really care. We don't really buy into this. Oh, the Big 12's not a legit Power 4 conference team.
No. I mean, it's easy to listen to the talking heads tell you what's what. You know what I mean?
You know why they don't talk about the Big 12? Because the SEC pays a bigger check for them to get talked about. That's the reason.
You got to pick a side. You're gonna watch the SEC, right?
Yeah,
well, most people are.
Well, or you could just get YouTube TV and get multi-view, and that'll solve a lot of your life's problems. But
yeah. I mean, that's pretty tough to do, man. Like, I mean, I have obviously my one team that I have to watch, but I'll go to the split screen every once in a while. But man, you're trying to keep up with 4 games at once. I mean,
half of them are at commercial break at a time.
That's a skill in itself.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess it's just me being able to pay attention if it's like a big game, like I watched Penn State and Ohio State by itself just because I wanted to get a really good feel for that game. But most of the time, unless there's like an absolutely huge matchup like at Georgia, Alabama earlier, I'm going to watch multiple games at a time.
Yeah, for sure.
My player of the week for this week, Jordan Tyson, 12 catches, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's the difference right there and why Arizona State won, right? Sam Levitt played really well distributing him the ball. But, I mean, he's able to do it at all levels. He has the speed to get vertical. He can run routes underneath. And, I mean, he's got some solid hands. But he just made the Kansas State corners look silly and just was able to be an X factor in a game that Arizona State kind of needed if they wanted to have any chance at postseason success. And, I mean, Kenny Dillingham, he's a great coach. I love him. He's very expressive, to say the least, in post-game stuff, whether it's the press conferences or the sideline reports. But, yeah, man, I mean, this Arizona State team's pretty good, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, my player of the week, our boy Tyler Warren, Not only did he have 8 catches for 127 yards and a touchdown, he also ran the ball 3 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, that's right. Our boy Tyler Warren was back there in the Wildcat running the ball. I mean, I'm pretty sure this guy was like a lacrosse player or something because he's just a tough, like all over the field kind of guy. Like the
Yeah, I mean,
perfect guy.
he
I could
probably
see him
did
in.
football, wrestling, and lacrosse. Like
I
that's what
could
he.
see him playing for like a Harbaugh, for a Raven, or a Charger, like being that kind of guy for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, or even maybe even like a Shanahan, just at the tight, like a secondary tight
Yeah,
end for
like a
him. Like,
use check.
yeah, like just one of those like gadget guys, but also like he sticks out on the field. He just might not be the big talking head. I know he is at Penn State, but in terms of pro trajectory, I don't know how he would look in the NFL. But hey, who knows? If you
Yeah,
can send Andy Nicky with him, I mean, shoot, dude. I wanted to quickly talk about the AP poll, and we'll mention the college football playoff rankings on later this week. Probably we always typically do it on Thursdays, but in our preview show, we'll just kind of give a glance at it. But I wanted to talk about the APs on drugs. Washington State does not need to be ranked after losing to New Mexico. And Dan Pierce, a really fun quarterback to watch at New Mexico. But holy crap, you do not lose to the Lobos, man. They lost to an FCS school earlier this season. I mean, come on. I don't know. It's kind of tough to rank some of these teams, but like I'd put in Memphis over UNLV. I don't know if Illinois really belongs there. I don't know if I think the rest of them do. Iowa State, Arizona State, Tulane, and so on and so forth. But man, that tail end is just bogus, bro. I'd rather keep
yeah.
Missouri. I'd rather keep Missouri in there than Washington State losing to fucking New Mexico. I'm sorry. It's just it's bullshit. Like what? You lose to New Mexico and Boise State. What's your best win? Washington, Texas Tech, like 2 middle pack Power 4 conference teams. Like
It's almost like they had to be nice to the independents, the people that didn't. I mean, they
no, the
did drop
Pac-12 conference still exists. No, I mean, I'm
they
interested
did
to
drop
see.
6 spots.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what they do with Miami through, or not Miami, sorry, Tennessee through Alabama. Because at 7, Alabama, 8, Georgia, 9, Ole Miss, 10, Tennessee. That's an interesting spot. And I wonder if they'll move Miami or SMU ahead as
Yeah,
well.
I think Miami and SMU are kind of on a collision course to face each other in the ACC playoff.
Honestly, yeah, we'll see how Miami finish out the season. But honestly, I think both of them could potentially get in if we see some letdown from like a Tennessee or an Ole
It would
Miss.
have to be it would have to be a great game in my opinion, because I'm only really seeing one out of the ACC at this point.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Plus Colorado's getting in, so you got to
Yeah.
count for
I mean,
that.
dude, look at where we are, man. Like we're talking about Colorado, like
I love
it-
Colorado, dude. My
they're
favorite
like
team.
one of the most entertaining, fun teams to watch in the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Clemson might be able to get in that last get in that ACC spot as well.
I mean,
Not
you
that
could,
they not that they will, but they could.
I mean, you could easily see Clemson lose. Texas A&M could lose at Auburn. I mean, in a lot of different scenarios. Hell, South Carolina could get red hot, and they could slide up.
Right. Yeah.
They just moved up 4 spots in the poll. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And I think if Boise State loses in the Mountain West, it's going to be Tulane too. So
yeah,
Tulane or
yeah.
Army. Well, Army's got to win against Notre Dame, which I don't think will happen, but we'll see. And also I'm projecting that Ohio State's going to be Indiana. I'm wondering how far they'll drop out because I think Indiana's. You know what? You might be like, oh, well, they haven't played shit on their schedule, but you know what? They've won their games and they've all won pretty much all of them except Michigan in dominating fashion. So
Yeah, I mean, this is big for them this week. This game's in Columbus, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Let me double check for you.
Big noon kickoff.
Yep, big noon with Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. So, which I enjoy. Like I had the audio on because I mean didn't really watch too much Colorado live, but I watched the replay, and I mean, I like them. They kind of whatever team's hosting, or there's a little bit of a one of those for one of the
Oh
teams.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, but that's the college football segment. Let's move on to the NFL, and let's start off with those Lions getting just absolutely beating the shit out of the Jags.
Oh my god, dude.
This Lions team is, if you don't like watching the Lions, I think you're just on drugs, because this is one of the this is the best team in football right now. Offensively, I mean, you got playmakers everywhere like Gibbs, Montgomery, Waymo,
Yeah.
St. Brown. And so when Sam Laporta comes back, he'll be a big factor in that offense again.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know what? It's the Jaguars without Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence. So like obviously they're pretty beaten down, but still, dude, just no life in that team. I mean, not even a chance, bro. That game, that was just fun, dude. I'm typically not a big NFL guy, but the Lions have Ben Johnson in that offense. They do a really good job with that team. And I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl right now. Obviously, a lot of season left, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but we saw Anzalone's out for 68 weeks with the broken forearm. So, and there's going to be more injuries to come because that's just how football works, right? But
yep.
Zadarius Smith looked pretty good in his debut as well.
Yeah, and if Anzalone, if they get the bye like we think they're going to get, then he'll be back for the playoffs too. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this team, man, their first 7 possessions went for touchdowns. Like you said, they went to
which
James
never happens in football ever.
Yeah, and I mean, how many different guys you look at? Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Gibbs.
Didn't Brock Wright had a touchdown, right?
I mean, yeah, dude. There's nobody on this planet right now that's calling plays on the offensive side better than Ben Johnson. Like he's the real deal, dude. I'll go as far as to say the Lions. I'll just put the Lions down now as my Super Bowl winner. I've watched a lot of games in the NFL this year. I mean, dude, 5 turnovers on the road in prime time at Houston in a Jersey game for them. Their crowd's fired up, and they still found a way to win the game. And Dan Campbell said after the game that they kind of took that game as a loss. So they're kind of treating that as a loss, but they still found a way to win the game. Like, dude, stuff like that. I mean, you don't see that kind of stuff, man. This team it's just good. It's a good team.
And they got a different energy to them from the rest of the league too.
Their secondary is like specifically from the safety side, and like even Carlton Davis been coming up huge, man. Meek Robertson had a nice big hit, blew up that screenplay. Terrion Arnold getting better, still a little handsy.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of development to do, but I think by the end of the season, you're going to see Terrion Arnold locking down the number 1 receiver, because that's what he was at Bama. Yep. Like Kool-Aid was the big guy, like, oh, he returns kicks and he's a very explosive athlete, but Terrion Arnold was the cornerback 1 for that Alabama team and locking up everyone's best receiver.
Yeah, well, yeah, he kind of took it over, and he kind of slid to us. I mean, there was a lot of teams that liked him.
That was one of my. I like people with the Gibbs pick 2 years ago. They were like, I'm like, dude, Gibbs played in the slot at Bama and like has more than just I'm just gonna take 30 carries and only exist for 3 years. Like, he's a guy that like later in his career might move to the slot because, dude, I mean, we see the speed, but his footwork's really nice as well. So
yeah, no, I'll tell you what, man, it's gonna be something to watch.
Great football team. Probably the best to watch, in my opinion. Not biased, by the way.
They're super fun.
The Bengals, I think their playoff hopes are dead. Lose 34-27 against the Chargers. Yeah, man. This is bad. Lad McConkey breakout game. How about it? But yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Bengals fans out there. You get T. Higgins back finally this week. He looks good in his performance back. And, I mean, you could just tell just the like the locker room. I mean, you see that Jamar Chase post game, you're like, oh, we pay this kicker the big bucks, and blah 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 blah. I don't know. I don't call the plays.
Yeah.
I got a Bengals. One of my best friends is a Bengals fan. He's like, dude, I don't know why I expect anything from this team anymore, because they just constantly let me down. They did it against the Ravens recently on that
Yeah.
Thursday night game. I mean, it's just Burrow's going to be around for a long time. One of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. And look, this Chargers team's pretty good too. It's not like you're, losing in heartbreaking fashion to the fucking Raiders, right?
Right.
So, but I mean, Herbert played really good. He was able to be effective with his legs as well. And man, I mean, Chargers are just one of those teams that aren't talked about that are really damn good.
No, yeah, they have a bunch of guys on their team, and for the first half, man, their defense. Jesse Minter has the Chargers ranked towards the top in the league in defense in a lot of categories, and they shut Burrow down in the first half. And then the Chargers did their best impersonation of trying to blow a game in the second half, in which
the Brandon Staley ghost tried to haunt him.
Yeah, and they it almost did, man. And Herbert in the first half, man, he looked awesome. Like Herbert looked like one of the best quarterbacks I've seen in the first half.
I think Herbert's one of my favorite. He might be my favorite quarterback in the NFL. Just a big guy with a big arm. He's got some mobility to him.
Yeah, he broke off a few long runs in that game yesterday.
Jerry Jones is just so depressed. The Texans are gonna win 34-10, but unless Cooper Rush throws an amazing deep ball down the sideline and it's broken up.
Yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, dude, the Cat. Wow, talk about a team that is awful.
But yeah, no shit.
Besides the point, yeah, dude. I mean, look, this is a good win if you're the Chargers. Your competition is going to be the Chiefs, but we finally see them get beat. Thank fucking God.
Or the Broncos.
Man. Yeah,
you don't want to go there, but I mean,
Bo Nix,
right now
he's been playing
probably the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, no. Look, dude. I mean, when you're a 25-year-old in the league, man.
Anything you can get in on him.
I mean, he's just been playing the quarterback position well.
Yeah.
For most of the season. So he's had a few games here and there, but I mean, look, he was consistent at Oregon, and I mean, I don't think he's going to be a guy. I don't think he's ever going to be like a top 10 guy in the league, but I mean, dude, you don't need your quarterback all the time to have to make the hero plays. I mean, let the players make plays around him and have your defense play well. So
no, I agree to that.
And who knows? He's still got room to develop, man. So Josh Allen, baby. How about it?
Yeah.
Bills win 30-21. I'm so happy. I don't mean to be too biased, but I fucking hate the Chiefs so much. And I was glad to see the Bills win. They might be the best team in the AFC right now. And look, dude, the Chiefs don't really have like much of a pulse, but their schedule is honestly pretty easy down the stretch. Panthers, Raiders, you play the Chargers, but then the Browns, Texans, I don't think they're that good. And then the Steelers and Broncos. So like, it's not like a hard end of the season schedule. And I think they're probably going to win about 13 to 14 games just because of the close games they're able to pull out. But I just like when it comes to the playoffs, dude, I'm just like, they don't got like Hopkins is going to have a couple big catches, but he's pushing on Onk status if he isn't already there already. Kelsey's probably done after this season. Kareem Hunt isn't the player that he was before he decided to be like Miles Bridges or Ray Rice, I guess, if you wanted to go to an NFL comparison.
Their defense is still solid.
I mean, defense is going to win you championships, obviously. It's a good defense, but I guess high-powered offenses, like if you got to the Super Bowl, you played the Lions. No. Eagles are one of the better offensive teams. We see it with the Bills. I mean, their offense, they didn't play 100%, but I mean, Allen still looked pretty solid in their win. And I mean, other than that, I guess offenses haven't been like crazy this year. I guess the Rams would be a really tough matchup for them if they ever faced off. But I guess in the AFC, dude, I mean, other than the Ravens, yeah, man, I'm not a huge.
I mean, the one difference between Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, you've seen Josh Allen can just take the ball himself and say, "All right, I'm taking this to the house." You know what I mean? He's more than willing to run the ball. I mean, he's a big dude. He throws the ball well. I mean, they've kind of had Kansas City's number in the regular season, which our other partner Andrew kind of alluded to on our TikTok page and got some hate for it. But the Chiefs still have been beating them when it counts in the playoffs. So I mean, I guess that's where we mark the success of Josh Allen this year is what he does in the playoffs, because he's kind of one of those guys like Justin Herbert that are kind of, you know what I mean, superstar quarterbacks that need to get over that playoff hump.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, look, we'll probably see these two teams play again in the playoffs, and let's see if it's a different story or not.
Right.
So, Danger Russ, baby. He continues to leave a legacy in the Steel City. 18-16 win. No, honestly, Chris Boswell, MVP, bro. You made 6 for 6 on field goals. It's a lot of pressure to put on your kicker, especially with a long of 57 yards as well. But honestly, the Ravens, they won this game if Justin Tucker makes one more kick, and he missed 2.
Yeah.
And look, he's been around since I've started watching football.
One of the best of all time.
Yeah, but I mean, some you can't play kicker forever, even though it's a very untaxing position on your body.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be able to have the same leg as you once did. Not that he can't kick it the distance, just the accuracy. But I don't think the Ravens really looked that great to begin with in this game either.
No, I think the Steelers defense is the unit that we need to talk about. Yeah, they are 4-0 with Russell Wilson as their quarterback, but their defense is getting back to playing Steeler defense. Joey Porter Jr., maybe one of the top, easily one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL. You know what I mean? They still have a wicked defensive line.
Patrick Queen's one of the best players on this defense.
Jalen Warren was able to run the ball pretty decent. You know what I mean? They're getting their run game going. Like the Pittsburgh might have something, dude.
Yeah, no. Look, dude, 8-2 with the team that, like, I don't even think they're at their ceiling yet. To be quite honest with you, I think there's still some room for improvement on offense. I'd like to see a couple more targets to Darnell Washington, that 6'7" crazy freak athlete, Georgia receiver. I don't think you want to give him too much volume, but give him some explosive plays to look at, and let Najee and Jalen Warren run you down the field and get the ball to George Pickens. And look,
Mike Williams.
No, I mean, they got Mike Williams now. Roman Wilson's hurt this year, right? Or is he just not playing?
Roman Wilson should be back next year. He suffered an injury.
Yeah, so I think Roman Wilson would be a really big difference in the slot for him as well. But you got Calvin Austin, who's not much of a route runner, but has speed and can get vertical. So, and you can run some jet sweeps with him and design some stuff. But yeah, man, I think, oh God, who was that terrible? Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator for him last year. I mean, that could have just been the biggest problem for Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, we see how much coaching does impact a team's success. At all levels of football. So, in the NFL, I think it's a little bit more about coaching and team buy-in rather than talent, because every team's got talent, right? Like, you're in the NFL for a reason. But
yeah, Mike Tomlin, obviously one of the best leaders of this time.
Yep. I love the statement he was about Patrick Queen. Is like, another man's trash is another man's treasure. So
yeah, his post games are usually gold.
Yeah, no, one of the best coaches, probably of all time, right? I mean, he's literally never had a losing season.
Yeah, never. I mean, with huge expectations like they are in Pittsburgh. I mean, can't say enough about the guy.
Yeah, and then the last game on the docket, Green Bay gets a win, very closely. Dude,
what a trash game.
Yeah, I saw the updates throughout this one. I went back and watched it a little bit. Both these defenses are actually pretty solid, but at the same time, other than Christian Watson and a little bit of Josh Jacobs, I mean, the Packers offense wasn't on too much. And then, I mean, for whatever reason, the Bears get all these playmakers on the outside, and they honestly haven't like DJ Moore is not who we thought he was going to be coming in the season. Roma Dunze has been cool, but I mean, he's a rookie receiver, and other
Yeah.
than really Marvin, I don't think any rookie receivers looked that impressive this year. And then I mean, Keenan Allen, he just age is catching up to him. Swift played well, but this offensive line obviously still has problems. And Caleb Williams is 21 years old, right? I mean, look, what do you expect with a guy playing against a bunch of 25 to 30-year-olds, this young guy coming in? I mean, look, he's not Bo Nix or Jane Daniels, right? He's not one of these, oh, I'm going to play 7 to 8 to 9 years in college, and then finally I'm going to go to the NFL, right? Like, I mean, he played 3 seasons in college. He played in all 3 years. And while he was a standout and had highlight plays, we obviously saw some flaws in his game. And I mean, I think he's doing solid for a rookie quarterback. I mean, the only like young rookie quarterbacks to ever have like in great seasons are like Stroud and Herbert. And that's kind of it. Like there's really no one else. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to develop. But I mean, we've seen throughout the year that he's able to make the quicker reads and get the ball to players in space and not have to be the highlight every single week. So, and look, I don't think this Bears team is ready to compete yet. We saw some stuff we liked preseason with this team, but we also know that it's the Chicago Bears, right? They're on their 4th loss in a row. And I mean, look, you play Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers again. So that's not an easy schedule to finish out the regular season as well.
Yeah, and Eberflus, I don't know if he'll survive after this year either. I mean, if you're the Bears, I got a buddy who's a Bears fan, and his theory was that they should have kept Justin Fields, use those top 10 picks to put weapons around him. You know what I mean? And
but they did use like a top first round pick on a weapon. And I love Roma Dunze, okay? Like in my Dynasty League, I'm like, dude, this kid, I think he was honestly I know Marvin Harrison was the big spotlight guy. Dude, Roma Dunze was the best receiver in college last year. You can't convince me otherwise.
As an NFL franchise, you're taking a quarterback number one. You got a coach who's on the hot seat. Wouldn't you want to bring a coach in to start that's going to be with this kid? You know what I mean? That's going to be able to develop this kid. Like Chicago kind of tried to play the short game and spend a bunch of money on proven free agents.
Yeah, but like they're not as good as what they were.
I mean, Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo was one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Swift, we've seen multiple times. I mean, Montez Sweat, who's a really good defensive end. I mean, these guys were all proven veterans. Keenan Allen.
Oh, sorry. I'll tell you after the show. But no, yeah. I mean, look, Chicago just kind of tried to play. They tried to do what's essentially called, playing with the portal, like Florida State and teams in college. They tried to buy their way and not develop talent, not do this, not do that. They tried to play it the quick way and try to get going and get Caleb Williams to compete. Honestly, I would have liked to see Caleb Williams in a situation where he didn't have to, try and have a whole bunch of pressure under him, because there's just you're going to obviously have pressure as the number 1 pick, but have a little bit more lenience with not needing to succeed right off the bat, because he's kind of the scapegoat in this, why the Bears aren't being great, but there's bigger issues than him.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of smoke behind him not wanting to come to Chicago thing, because I mean, historically, you just look at the Bears.
Who the fuck wants to go to who wants to go to the Bears? Like,
I mean,
no one wakes up. I'm sorry. And if you're from the Chicago area, obviously a little bit different for you, but no one wakes up and is like, man, I want to be, or no one's dream is, man, I want to be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Because no, I don't know anybody that said that ever. Like, I grew up, I was like, oh, I want to be, well, first I wanted to be a Steelers quarterback, and then I realized I sucked at Q. Like, Steelers were my favorite team growing up because they had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown mainly, which, Yeah, great idols to look up as a kid, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, just like Chicago's been shit my whole entire life. They will always be shit. I'm sorry. It's the truth.
No, yeah. Especially from that position. They've been, I mean, generational curse after curse.
Yeah. So, but they will one day get over it. It just might be when Justin has grandkids. So,
Yeah.
but that's gonna do it for the show, everybody. I wanted to thank you for tuning in. Obviously, like, subscribe, share if you're not already, but you should, and you should already be if you're tuning in. It should have been the first thing you did when you clicked on the video because you saw, after the beautiful intro, which we're gonna get a new one, by the way. So stay tuned for that. Might be on Thursday's episode. We shall see. Make sure you
I'm
follow us
excited.
on socials, on TikTok, Instagram, and X at Fourth and Goal Pod. Justin's been a little bit more in the social media game. The old guys getting in with the new age. So
Yeah.
not in like a actually not in like a giddy way, but
In a Diddy way.
giddy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was
Well,
gonna
I
say
guess
not,
it kind of makes
not in a Diddy way.
yeah, diddy giddy. Yeah. Anyways, okay, this is where we need to end the show. But
Yep.
yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you later in the week to break down everything that you need to know in this upcoming weekend.